See, I've had about 60 or more boxing matches, and you only meet 3 genuine punchers throughout your career. And a kid I worked with by the name of Cleveland Williams, they hit so hard that it vibrates your body. Even if you block it, it just goes right through you. Who do you consider to be the toughest fighter you've ever met in all the years you've been in the ring? Well, I would say Cleveland Williams, the way he could hit. He punched hard, and before I fought him, I looked at his record, and he had a bunch of knockouts, and I said to myself, these are nothing but setups. And after the first round, I went back to my corner and told my trainer, these weren't setups, he really knocked these guys out. So he said, you got to get in close on him. I said, either that, or we got to get out of here, because this guy is really something. As is the case in all sports, the memories of athletes who do not rise to the top often fade until they are almost forgotten. But in the mid-20th century, the name Cleveland Williams was known and feared by every heavyweight in the game, standing 6'3" with an 80-inch reach and wrecking balls attached at the end of his wrists. The man known as Big Cat was a one-man gang with a knockout wallop. Even the champions of his era, whose names still live on to this day as household words, had to learn the hard way that his power was not some fabricated myth, as was the case the night Sonny Liston was on the receiving end of a vicious onslaught. Not at all overwhelmed by his opponent's reputation, Cleveland got the jump on Liston and released a torrent of murderous punches, Williams starting out very fast, trying to overpower Sonny Liston. Cleveland Williams bloodied the nose of Sonny Liston, and he's bleeding pretty good. It's a very rare sight to see a heavyweight ever unload 5 consecutive left hooks with such speed, but Williams had raw talent to spare. When Sonny Liston was one of the most feared fighters in the world, he went life and death with Cleveland Williams. Cleveland Williams almost knocked Sonny Liston out of the ring. He broke a rope. Can you recall anything that happened in that fight that would stand out in your memory? Well, the only thing I can remember there was a lot of doubt in people's minds whether he was going to answer the bell for the second round. The night ultimately belonged to the future world champion, but the unstoppable Liston had finally bled and left the ring with a broken rib. Cleveland faced many setbacks in his career, but none more infamous than on the night of November 29th, 1964, when, driving on a lonesome road, Williams was pulled over by a Houston patrolman. A struggle ensued between the two men, resulting in Williams being shot at point-blank range in the gut by a .357 Magnum. Cleveland was rushed to the hospital, with his right kidney having to be removed along with over 10 feet of his small intestines. The gunshot had broken his hip bone, causing partial paralysis in his hip muscles and nerve damage in his left leg. He had been on the cusp of a world title shot, but his once muscle-bound physique had now withered away, with his weight plummeting to a skeletal 150 pounds. It would be over 2 years before he'd be back in the ring, but remarkably, Williams had built his body back up once again, though it was a hollow shell that lacked the athleticism he had once possessed. We do look for a good fight, title defense. Coming up in September, we're working on the fight with a top fighter. Now he's making his comeback, Cleveland Williams. And a lot of the mistakes and things that I do and get away with. With the fellas I have fought in the past, I couldn't do with him. Because if he should hit me, he could hurt me. He's got a hard punch. He broke Sonny Liston's jaw once, and if he should tag me, I could be in some trouble. Assuming you win, Cleveland, and we're all assuming that and pulling for you, what kind of champion are you going to be? Well, lovable. And treat everybody like they were human. I try to be the kind of champion that people want him to be. Fighting on with a bullet still lodged inside his body, he tried feverishly to draw upon speed that was no longer there. I have to admit, I was a little fearful of his hitting power, because I could feel the wind from the misses. We right down, the right's up. He'll take a mandatory 8 count, some of the left to the face. Williams doesn't know what to do. He's been hurt. The athlete takes a left and a right. and now in his own corner, right, and the referee starts the fight over. You know what interested me, what you said just a few moments ago, when you finally admitted that the Cleveland Williams you finished off was not perhaps the Cleveland Williams of 7 years ago. That's right. You knew that going into the fight? Yeah, that's right. The world knew it, you knew it? That's true, I did. One can only imagine what a man like Williams, with his exceptional structure for boxing and God-given power and speed, could have become, had he from a young age been given the correct schooling in a boxing gym, the kind so readily provided to today's developing fighters. Williams once said, "God wanted me to fight. I died 3 times on that operating table. If he didn't want me to fight, he'd have let me stay dead. Because fighting is the only thing I know." The big cat lived an arduous life and had to pound out a living with his fists, while his legacy may forever remain in obscurity. Let it be known that Cleveland Williams was a genuine fighting man. Was there any particular fight when you first realized you could beat anybody? Cleveland Williams, when I fought Cleveland Williams, after he could punch real hard and fast, and after that fight I felt that I could beat anybody. He must have been real tough. He was big muscles, he was all muscle, he had muscles in his eyes. You found peace.